Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Friday afternoon, which means it is our skills broadcast. For those of you who don't know, who might be just tuning in for the first time, welcome. We are an extended family of people who get together 3 times a week to support one another and hopefully make our lives easier to cope with by so doing. Just to let you know, we do this lunchtime one, which is a skills broadcast where we learn something. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the risk of what we're about to go through versus the risk of what we have been going through recently. And then what I also want to just make sure you know is today we're also doing, hi there, Ange, we are also, and hi Jody, we are also doing a special Facebook test today at 6:30 until 7, just to see, we're going to try Facebook Live to see what we can do with that. It'll be an experiment, but I just thought it was time for people to see what other people look like in this time when we've got so much going on. The other thing is that we do an evening broadcast on Fridays on YouTube, which is our humor one. And I really, hi Jeannie, I really want to thank Jody, who is our admin and puts in a wonderful job of getting those quotes together for us. So thanks again, Jody, we really appreciate it. And then on Sunday afternoon, we do our Soul Sunday broadcast, which is a very low tempo, almost a meditation type broadcast for those who just want to quieten down for the coming week. And maybe during the week, if you're having a problem sleeping, it's a really good playlist. And we put it together as a playlist so that you can just literally put it on and go to sleep listening to it, if that helps. So I am aware, as I'm sure you are, we are about to go through a very challenging season. We've gone through this first season of the being aware of the virus and, getting scared of it and then being locked down. And now I think almost without doubt, the next phase is going to be in some ways more scary for some people. And so before I carry on with this, how are you all feeling about the possibility of being released from home stay, if you like? I just wanted to get some ideas from those viewers that are on at the moment. Just how do you feel about this? Are you feeling, that it's a good thing that they're starting to loosen up stuff and getting things back now? And I'm pretty sure that you're, because you're in retail, it's really important for you. But is it also extremely scary for you? And so, that's what I want to get an idea of, is where people are at. I would think that there are different levels of concern about this. So if you have concerns, please just type them in so that I can talk to them if I am able to. And that is really what I want to do. I got some quotes that I wanted to read to you about the plus side of taking risks, but on the other hand, I wanted to make sure that we talk about where is it a risk and where is it a calculated risk. All right, so Angela, who works in retail, says, I'm anxious. I work in a mall and it's heavily tourist driven. Yes, so quite honestly, Angela, so until the tourists are feeling confident again, your business is not going to recover. All right? Would that be fair? Whilst I'm just typing that, I just wanted to give you a heads up on a new scam that Lauren passed on to us. Let me just get it up for you. I just wanted to find out, if you received this, would you have clicked on it? It said someone came in contact with you, tested positive or has shown symptoms for COVID-19 and recommends you self-isolate and get tested. For more information, and then it's got a link, which is COVID-19 Anon. .com/alert. The question is, how many of you would have clicked on that? And so I just want to make sure we give a heads up to everybody that you need to be really careful about what's going on. And I would like to say that if you see anything like that, the first thing you do is to check on Snopes. I'm just going to type that up. How did I ever live without this on-screen keyboard? I'm so thankful for it. Oh, did I do it in the wrong place? Hang on, people. There we go. Hopefully. Why is that not working today? There we go. There you go. So the first thing to do is to check on Snopes. That's for those of you listening on the replay. S for sugar, N for nut, O for orange, P for Peter, E for Edward, S for sugar. So the reality is always check whatever it is that comes through. If you have even if it looks 100% legitimate, if it comes from your government, if it comes from, check it there first. Why? In today's reality, anybody can Photoshop in, something that looks official. And so it's really important. All right, so Angela's saying, I'm tired of staying home, but it's not worth it to go out. That's what I wondered. I wondered how many of you are going, yeah, it's time to get the world back into order, but is it worth the risk? And that's what I wanted to talk about today. I noticed that there are a number of what I call TV doctors, Dr. Phil, Dr. Drew, Dr. Oz, that are busy saying, well, it's no worse than a regular flu, really, and so we're going to get pulled and pushed. It's an election year. So you understand that certain entities are going to want to have everybody back at work so that they don't get punished come the election. And, it might be too late for that, but, you understand what I'm saying. So the stimulus packages have run out. And so they need people to go back to work because they don't have any more money to support them. And so, you look at all these things and you're going, think about the motives, all right? The motives are that they need to be able to get people back at work to get the economy going again, not that it necessarily is safe to do that. And that's the point that I want to make. The other thing is this, that, the governors are calling for more testing, and the federal or the White House is saying, no, you don't need to do that. There's a good reason for that as well. Do you understand that the more tests they do, the more figures will come out to show that the US didn't shut down fast enough? And, that'll be negative for the re-election run. So I just want to make sure that we understand this. And then I want us to make calculated decisions. There is a difference between a risk and a calculated risk. Getting up in the morning and getting out of bed is a risk. You could trip over something and fall. If you stayed in bed, you wouldn't trip over it. Do you get what I'm saying? But what we do is we try to make sure that we look down at our feet before we get out of bed to make sure there's nothing there that we're going to trip on. And so that's what I call a calculated risk. So Jeannie is saying that her governor is not ready to open up everything yet. No, absolutely. And I think you'll find a lot of governors are not. Yes, Angela's saying, just look at China at the moment. Their numbers just went up 50%. Yes. Why? Because the cover-up is being uncovered. And so what's going to happen is that this is going to explode on the numbers. Right, Nevada's not going to open up either. Right, so here's the thing. There's going to be a lot of push and pull, and that will leave the average human being in a state of, I wonder what I should do. All right. Now, it's pretty easy for somebody like myself, who is retired, high risk. I'm high risk because of my age. At 72, they put me in a high risk category. I have a history of lung issues, high risk. All right. And I'm pre-diabetic, high risk. So it doesn't make any sense for me to go out if I don't have to. And by the way, in all the time that I've self-isolated, and I think I'm into week 3 or 4, I think I might be heading into week 4 now. I've been out once, and been out and got out of my car just once. And that was because I went to the bank to get real cash to keep at home, because I was not sure what was going to happen. And I wanted to make sure I had substantial cash with me, so that if anything happened to myself or my friends, an emergency of some sort, that I had cash on hand. And that is the only time. Oh, and I delivered mac and cheese to Yvonne, for those of you who know Yvonne. So to me, that was a calculated risk. If I've got to go out, and if I've got to get out of the car anyway, then I will do the bank, and then I will drop something off at Yvonne to show that I care. All right, so Jeannie's saying we go out infrequently and wear gloves and mask when seeing people. Had to get a prescription dog food for Misty, that's her dog, at the vet's. The girl came out and took our check. Yes, I think, shopping as we know it has totally changed. I have had all my groceries delivered ever since I went into shutdown. And, it's very inconvenient because it's getting difficult to do that. I am literally ordering 2 weeks ahead to make sure I'm getting a regular delivery of food. Yes, Angela's mentioning 500 cases in just one of the food processing plants recently. Absolutely, very scary. Now that we, as far as I know, Angela, they have not proven that it's transmitted by food that is cooked. All right, so I understand your concern, so be extra careful when handling meat. I'm not sure. Does anybody know what the life of that virus is on food, on meat? So, you got to look at it. There's a delay between when they process that meat and when it gets to the supermarket. There's also then a delay between when it gets to the supermarket and when it's actually packaged. So, it's a risk. Everything in life is a risk. Getting in your car and driving around is a risk that we all choose to take every day. True? Well, we used to. So here's the other thing I wanted to do. I wanted you to think out how life as we know it is probably not going to get back to normal, if it ever does, for probably about 2 years. And I was thinking, if you are a big TV or movie person, be aware that there will be a huge delay on your local, what should I call it, your favorite viewing. All right, if you are a big fan of Survivor, or whatever it is you're a big fan of on television, do you understand that? Well, Survivor is pre-recorded, so not so much, but it's going to be a long time before they're going to have normal television stuff going on. There's going to be a huge delay on recorded series. So I'm thinking, it'll be a long time before I can watch Bull, a new one, after this present season has run out. So you look at all of this, and therefore, what will happen, I believe that we will see more and more binge watching on the various channels that we can get. All right, so Angela's saying, I work in the beauty industry. No way Can we social distance and apply makeup on people? Exactly. So from that perspective, you will be badly hit, Angela. All right. You know what I mean? You won't be one of the first ones to go back into to work. Jeannie's saying we need bread, fruit, but will not go grocery shopping for a week or so, making it at least 2 weeks since our last grocery trip. Again, we wear gloves and a mask when we do. Yes, I'm always interested that you and York go out together to do these things, Jeannie, which to me is doubling the risk. You know, maybe you didn't touch it, but maybe York did. So I don't know why. I don't know what other people feel about that, you know, but it's like, if you don't have to go out together, don't, right? Do one person at a time. It is half the risk, in my view. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you some quotes about trying new things. And then what I want you to do is discuss with me the calculation around this. How do we do this in a calculated way? You know, for example, it was said that never be afraid to try something new, because life gets boring when you stay within the limits of what you already know. Have any of you learned a new skill in the last month? Now, Jody, definitely, Jody pulled out her sewing machine, and Jody is in the process of making masks for people. And, you know, I think that is wonderful, because I know that if I had said to her two or 3 months ago, you know, I think it's time to pull out your sewing machine and start again, you know, start doing it while you still can, she probably would have laughed at me. But, you know, something happened, and that's called motivation, right? And motivation will drive you to do things that you've never done before. I, for example, am busy, as you know, busy with my my indoor and outdoor garden. By the way, I did harvest an amount of this butter lettuce this week. And Jody, I wish that I could have passed on to you how great it took. And this butter lettuce I've got growing in a wine glass. All right. And that's all. And I change the water every day, and I put in a little bit of, what do you call it? Fertilizer, liquid fertilizer, just a couple of drops, so that it's got healthy stuff. But what I'm trying to find out is, how many of these do I need to be self-sufficient? That's what I'm trying to find out. And if you look at the bottom, and I'm saying Jody because Jody's been fascinated with it. Jody, I don't know if you can see, but I've got new growth coming here at the stalk, right? I'm making sure the water level is only on the roots and not on the stalk itself. And it's growing beautifully, just so that you know. All right, so Jeannie's saying, all right, when they go shopping, York stays in the vehicle with the dog while I shop. Okay, awesome. And then Jody's saying, it is unknown how long it can survive on meat products. So there's part of you that probably thinks, should I stop eating meat? Well, you know, you've probably got just as much chance of picking it up on the top of a Coke can, or opening up your favorite chips or whatever. So how many of you are wiping down all your groceries as they come in the house? I wonder. So let's try the next quote, see what it brings up. Okay. I hope that this year to come that you make mistakes, because if you're making mistakes, you're making new things, trying new things, learning, living, pushing yourself, changing your world. You're doing things you never did before, and more importantly, you're doing something. So I think this is a really important thing to look at. Okay, let me just see what Angela said here. Angela was extremely sick 4 weeks ago. Wow, I'm sorry to hear that. And you went to urgent care and they couldn't test you. I decided I have bronchitis, but I will never know. It's very possible. The only way you probably will know, Angela, because before too much longer, you're going to have a test that allows you to find out if you've got the antibodies in your system. All right? Which means that you have had it. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't get it again. I think the jury is still out on whether once, if you've had it once, whether you can get it again. But, you know, Ange, the main thing is that you survived it. And I'm delighted. I didn't know that you were sick. And I am delighted to hear that you know, I presume that you're over the worst of it. So to me, I disagree with you, Ange, in as much that you will be able to find out. You will be able to buy a testing kit that will tell you that you have got the antibodies. Now, Angela, the reason I say that is I had a blood test done one day, and I was told that I had hepatitis A. And I said, no, I haven't. I think I'd know. You know, like hepatitis is pretty bad. I think I'd know if I'd had it. And so I discounted it, Angela. And, you know, within the last year, I said to my doctor when I was doing a bank of tests for some other reason, could you do me a favor and just test me for hepatitis A antibodies? And he said, why? And I said, you know something? A doctor told me that I had hepatitis A, and I have no knowledge of having had it. I'd like that double checked. I've sort of would like to know. And he said, well, I wouldn't be surprised if you have had it because you spent so much time in Africa. And I said, well, that's as maybe, but I would like to know, you know, so that I know. So Angela, I agree with you. Knowledge is an important part. The other thing is, Angela, if you've had it and survived it and got the antibodies, you are going to be one of those people that, if necessary, can donate blood and you know, so that the antibodies can be given to others. All right, so yeah, so Jody's saying, I'm wondering about the mutations too. What are we really looking at here? I want to tell you something. The important thing that we are not quite 100% sure of, as far as I know, is how did it actually start? You know, were they working, think about, you know, were they working on a pandemic, you know, as a weapon, and accidentally it got loose? You know, we still don't know that for sure. And I don't know. I think it will come out eventually. The mutations, yes. Were you equally worried about the mutations of SARS when it came? You see, the reason that this has had such impact is it's affected the world. You know, I remember SARS, I think, got as far as Toronto, but it never made it across. I cannot remember it being an issue in British Columbia, where I live. And so, you know, it depends how big the infestation is. We all know that there are flus out there killing people every day, ordinary flu, all right? And some of you get annual vaccines for that, and some of you don't. Yeah, Angela's saying someone needs to answer questions about where it originated and what actually happened. It's not going to change a whole lot, Ange, but yes, I think, you know, inquiring minds need to know, right? So the question that I have, and we know about Jody, did any of you learn something new in the last month? Because I really recommend that you do not sit at home doing diddly. There is going to be a time in your life when you're going to look back on this time and say, I wish I had used the time better. All right? And I don't mind admitting I have been busier during the lockdown than I was before. And that is because I keep myself that busy. Yeah, Jody's saying, I'm starting to believe it was a weapon. We don't know for sure, but, it's one of those possibilities, right? Yeah. And I must admit that I think so as well. And something went horribly wrong but it proved the point. And the other thing is this, you know, um, that this could be happening all over the world. There are people developing these things all over the world. It's not just China, right? We know that probably happening, something like this is happening in every major country in the world. And, that is the scary thing, because biological warfare is very difficult to contain. But the other point is this: if you wanted to really lower the strength of the US, this was a good way. Life is about taking chances, trying new things, having fun, making mistakes, and learning from it. Okay, so here's the thing. Jody, how did the getting all the bits to your sewing machine project, how did getting all that together, and then cutting out the pattern and actually starting, I believe you've actually started sewing now. How did that feel for you? Was it frustrating in part? Was it fun in part? Did you get a sense of achievement? What is the result of it? And did it use up time that you weren't sitting worrying yourself sick? The fact that you wanted to do this to help others, I think, is really a wonderful thing, because not only are you doing something that you haven't done for a long time, but also you're doing it for a greater good. And, it's interesting. I think I've discussed with you that we obviously aren't doing it anymore, but in this community that I'm in, there is a craft group. And this craft group gets together once a week for a couple of hours. And, they make, what do you call them? They call them toques in Canada. Beanies, I think you guys call them. you know, for people in hospitals, and not in hospitals, in elder care. And so, we just sit there and chit chat and crochet or do whatever. And, it's funny. It's like, okay, let's get together and shoot the breeze, but do something for the greater good while we're doing it. And, some people do blankies, some people do whatever. And I thought, it's an important thing that Jody did, because she's saying she had a mixed bag of emotions, frustration from getting those supplies. It was very difficult for her to get the supplies, when everything was shut down the way. I think hi, Isabel, by the time we start getting out a bit more, we will be so used to shopping online, it no longer will be something weird. I think the whole business of shopping online will now, if it was at 10% before, it's probably going to be at about 30%, which is why I'm very seriously considering putting some money into Amazon right now, buy shares right now, because, more people have done that. The other thing is, do we think that Netflix will do better? Even better. I'm beginning to wish that I'd put some money into Netflix a long time ago. Yes, Jody's saying she was relieved to start sewing, empowered to be able to do something to help. So you understand, it wasn't just the physical challenge, but it was the endorphin or serotonin release, I want to say, that when you were doing something that you knew was good. Now, Jody, if you only end up making 6 and give them to your friends, will it have been worth it? Absolutely. All right. We know that. So that is wonderful. I'm so proud of you. Yeah. So life, as we know, is going to be different. And if you hear anybody start saying, well, I wish we could do it, you go, yep, And as you've heard me say, and I wish I met Brad Pitt. But it's life is not going back to how it was ever. I don't think. I think an awful lot of jobs will not be there for people that were there before, and I think our whole economy will shift. And I believe that this is literally a life-changing event for all of us. And as I said, and Jody, is sitting in a high risk. Is it still a high hotspot, Jody? She's in New Hampshire, which was a hotspot. And so therefore, it's terrifying, right? To be as compromised as Jody is with all the issues that she had. But what? Jeannie's saying, I sent my hairdresser Easter money. She had to close up her shop and has been worrying. Of course. And how kind of you. Yeah, Angela's saying that. That's so sweet. As I said, we're still trying to find out who the Easter bunny was that went through our community on Easter and delivered Easter eggs to almost every single house. Amazing. Hi, Aaron. And so, I think we're going to see a lot more acts of kindness in different ways. Morgan Freeman said, I'm always trying new things and learning new things. Some of you know that Morgan Freeman, for example, with all the fame and fortune and money that he had, he decided that he wanted to start keeping bees because he knew there was a dramatic world shortage on bees. And, I think that is amazing. I've never been a big fan of Sean Penn, personal thing. Never been a big fan of his, but boy, isn't it interesting that every time there is a major thing going on in the world, Sean Penn is doing something. I remember the work that hi, Pete and Sandy. I remember the work that he did in Haiti. And now he is busy organizing for all the first line responders to get free testing, just literally drive in, tested, go. He's making sure that they get that. And I think what he is doing is, is getting his community of actors and everything else on board to help support that. You will have noticed that President Trump decided to stop funding the World Health Organization. Talk about blackmail at the worst possible time, but never mind. And then the next day, Bill Gates walked in and said, here is 250 million. World Health Organization, hope it helps. It's just like, I think what we're going to see in lots of ways like this is the power is going to shift. All right? The power is no longer going to be sitting the way that it was because people just don't want this anymore. And I believe that you should be ready for that. I've always said to you, be prepared, not scared. So if you start to see that, the politics changes a lot, that we have really weird things going on politically, expect it because there will be a groundswell against what happened. Life is an experiment. The more experiments you do, the better. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that. Yeah, Nietzsche is saying, I believe, but I might be wrong, but I believe that this happened because people were getting too self-centered and seldom ever shared love for one another. Though this is tough, yes, it would bring back love to us all. Interesting. Nyasha, I don't know if you've seen the interesting thing that they brought up, I think, in the last 24 hours. They actually looked at which countries had the best response. And to their amazement, the countries led by women have had the best response to this virus. How many of you are not surprised? Do you watch the press conferences here? Yes, I do. As much as I can, although I must admit that I end up rolling my eyes and just, turning it off half the time because I'm going, I've never seen such a pack of, I don't believe anything anymore. You know what I mean? I think it's all with a hidden agenda. And I'm sorry. I want to believe, but I don't believe. I do believe the scientists. So I listen when the scientists are on. And that's the interesting. Funny enough, I listen to somebody like Gavin Newsom because I believe that he's, I don't know why. I believe that guy. I believe Andrew Cuomo, but, it's just like, higher than that, I have a problem. I believe what a lot of the governors now. So here we have this situation. You remember there was that bishop who said, God is bigger than this virus, don't worry, come to church. And he died of the virus. All right, so Nyasha's saying, but most definitely it's love and equality for one another that was missing. It always has been. Nyasha, if you think about it, isn't that why Christ, gave the message that he did? It's like we do need to remember these things. Yeah. So Jodi's saying Newsom, she believes, was the first in the US to issue the stay-at-home orders. Yeah. So, wait a minute, wasn't it Washington State, Jodi? You might want to just check on that. I think Washington State did it before Newsom. How about this one? Creativity is thinking up new ideas. Innovation is doing new things. So I encourage you to keep away from what life used to be and keep thinking, what does the world need now? All right? What does the world need now? In this new world that we've never seen before, I was talking to Doug. Doug is in a business that will probably be amongst the last to recover. He is in the marathon running business. Okay. Now you understand you cannot social distance when you're a marathon runner, unless they do it a totally different way. It requires crowds to support it. It requires crowds of people helping, people handing out drinks, doing, there's so many risks attached to it, never mind security and all those sort of things. So I believe that will be one of the very last things to ever be opened up again. And so I said to him, and he was under contract to a number of different marathons. And, what I said to him as soon as this happened was, okay, Dougie, what are you going to do? Because it could be a long time before you're back in business doing that. And this is your opportunity to think, what are you going to do in the meantime? Because you may never go back there. All right. And, what I said to him is, Doug, you are one of the people I least worry about because I know you will do whatever it takes. And, he will pack groceries and deliver them if necessary. He does not have an ego. This is about survival. And so I think that a lot of people are going to have to start thinking about, what do I do that is necessary because my job might never come back. Ray Bradbury said that life is trying things to see if they work. Nyasha's asking me, when are we going to do the Facebook broadcast? We're going to be doing it at 6:30. I mentioned it at the beginning, Nyasha, 6:30 my time on Facebook, on the DearMamaSal page. Okay. Um, yeah, Angela's saying King Trump thought he was the final say. How wrong he was. Yes, and you know that's the whole reason, Angela. I'm convinced the reason he does not want to release the testing for everybody is the real numbers will come out and how devastated the US will be because of it. Is the reason you will not see widespread testing unless the private enterprise people get hold of testing and release it to the public. But they could be stopped. You know, you understand that. He has the ability to stop those kits being approved or whatever. And that's the scary thing. However, there are other ways to get kits, and I think a lot of people will find ways. Eleanor Roosevelt said, do one thing every day that scares you. Do you know, I have finished, some of you know, I moved into a new property and I've got a 3-tiered garden at the back. And I spent the first month clearing the first tier. The second tier had not been cultivated nearly as well. And it took me a month and a half to clear the second tier. And now I am on to the final tier. And I want to tell you something that it is a process that is really interesting to me because, you know, I believe in this one step at a time. And if I can tell you, this is going to sound insane, but I literally go out there and I will dig maybe a 3 foot by 3 foot section, and I will just turn it over so that I have dug and turned it over. And then the next day I will go and I will, you know, turn it over again, thereby loosening more dirt. And the next day I go out and I will turn it over again. And I keep doing that until the roots have let go of all of the earth. And then I compost all the green matter. They go into black bags for compost. And then I start working through the earth that is left and sorting stuff out. It's a real process. And I literally, my neighbor said to me, I can't believe how hard you work on that. And he said, why don't you just buy compost? Or you know, whatever. And I said, you know, I see it as exercise. That's what I do it. All right, so Jeannie's saying, I hate to get too political, but I believe President Trump has tried hard to do a good job. He has mobilized businesses to make necessary items like masks, ventilators, and hand sanitizers. Yeah. He did after the groundswell was so against, you know, I think the issue that people had, Jeannie, and I understand that, you know, that you may support what he has done, and you have every right to do that. He cares about truckers, farmers, and grocery personnel. Yeah. But what I'm concerned about does never, you know, what worries me is he had the ability to bring out the personal protection things much earlier. And you know, he was slow to react is what the problem is. And that is not what I'm saying, that is what is coming out of the White House, that he was slow to react. He didn't believe it was going to be that serious. And, you know, maybe we would have felt the same. Yep. And what I don't like, and I must admit, I agree with Angela, who's saying he's trying, Jeannie, but he can't help but be so unpresidential during press conferences. What I really am angry about is he's using those press conferences as a personal, you know, because he can't go out and campaign, he's using that pulpit to promote himself for re-election, which is wrong. That, you know, when he talks as the president, he is meant to talk for the president of all people, not just the Republicans. And that is what's worrying me. You know, he put up a blatant self-grandizing video that was so blatantly promoting him for re-election that even the press corps you know, interrupted it. And so, this is like, when the press corps actually stopped him showing the video because they were so outraged by it, that's pretty bad. Or that, that he had all those checks that went out, made sure that his name was on them. See, they're all what I call propaganda things. And, if you think about people with propaganda things, that doesn't normally end well. So what I want us to do, though, is to, regardless of your politics, all right, I have to tell you that life as you know it has gone, as far as I can see. So it probably will affect me less than it affects you, Angela, because you may want to say, do I want to remain in retail? Or, do I want to now start looking at what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And the things I would look at, Angela, is what really are your talents? And when I say that, I had the opportunity to meet Angela in person, and she is such a kind, thoughtful, sparkling person who gets her jollies out of serving others. Angela, would you agree with me? And it's like, I really, what I was so impressed with her is that she really enjoys being of value to people. A bit like Jody, all right? But it's like Angela is Jody, with Energizer Bunny batteries inside. Yeah. So when I look at that, Angela, I think, this might be a great opportunity for you to go, hey, if I had a magic wand and had to start all over again, what would I do? I'd spend some time thinking about that. Because, yeah, interesting, the feed is now people talking about Vice President Pence and how he keeps his cool. He's actually really quite presidential. You know what I mean? He's doing a good PR job for himself, although, I doubt he's ever going to get the job. But, it is like, I agree with you. He's stayed remarkably calm the whole way through, regardless of what's been going on. It was said that you don't need to have everything figured out. Try new things, experiment, mess up, start over. How many of you know that's my life? I tried to think, what do I think that everybody needs right now? And I thought, I think they need to see one another and remember, who everybody is. And even if it's a small group of people, that doesn't worry me. And then I thought, well, to do that, I don't want to go back to the other channels where all the trolls were. So, and I thought, maybe I can do it on Facebook and get a couple of people up on camera just so people can see. And we're just going to do a test of it today, just to see how it works. And if it works well, maybe we will do some more. The problem that I had about having people on camera last time is, to me, it was not worth doing when we only had people who went up on camera and spent the whole time on the, their phones, texting other people, chit-chatting just so they could be on camera. It was like, what's the point of having them on camera? All right, they're not interacting, they are not engaging, they are just on camera using their phone. So to me, that was like, why? And so what I'm interested in, though, is that, I definitely think it's time that we see the personalities a little bit, just so that we can reacquaint ourselves. And also, I thought it would be entertaining for people. It would give you something new to do and think about. But on the risk side, hi, Kerry. On the risk side, here is the risk. I know that going onto a new platform for us will be frustrating. Same things we were talking about with Jody. It will be frustrating. It will be, it's possible it won't work well, whatever. And so I would like to say that if we all expect that is a possibility, then we'll be fine. So this is a test run. This is not perfection. Robert Redford said, I've always wanted to try new things because it's exciting and it keeps you active and alive. And Kerry, while we've got you here, could you give us an update? We have not heard from you for some time, and that would be awesome. Isabel saying yes, and when we do the Facebook, you'll be able to hear my nice accent. Yeah, exactly. And so how about that? Robert Redford saying, I've always wanted to try new things because it's exciting and it keeps you active and alive. Now, Bernice was busy this week trying out the green onion trick. And I want to ask you, Bernice, what is it like to see that green onion grow every day the way that it does? Isn't it amazing? I am not sure. Yeah, I guess I don't know how that works, Nyasha, quite honestly. If you have, do you have your photo on your Facebook page? Because I think it would automatically pick up that photo. We'll have a better idea after we've done it, honey. So think about this one. Try new things every day. Don't be afraid of failures. You will not lose anything, but your brain will be packed with experiences. Okay, this is again, all right? Keep trying to do, the reason we're going to do the Facebook page is going to challenge us all, all right? And that to me is important for us all. I know none of us really like change because we want to stay comfortable, but it is really important. Bernice is saying about the green onion, it's fun and fulfilling. It feels like I'm not a plant killer. Unlike my hen and chick succulent, some leaves are dying. By the way, some leaves will die, all right? Doesn't mean that it's not going to grow again. I think it's pretty difficult to kill off a hen and chick thing. Anybody got experience that can help Sakura? Self-confidence builds when you try new things without fear of failure. All right, now, how many of you know that I'm not as scared about doing this as I was a month ago? A month ago, I put that, into the glass. And now I've already, I already harvested the leaves. And now I still have leaves that I can harvest for this week. But I want to tell you something. Did it feel good to eat butter lettuce leaves that I had grown? It felt great. My leeks, I cut the bottom of leeks and I, I cut the leek up and then I had that bit at the bottom. I want to tell you they're up this high in the garden at the moment. I don't think I will need to buy leeks again this year. I will just keep going to the garden and cutting off some and then using it. What else do I have? I put the carrots in. Some of you know. I didn't know this, but apparently, that you can take carrot tops, and I don't know if you can see it, and I've just got them sitting just in water, and look at the roots already growing. And once I've got enough roots, that there are plenty of roots, then I put them in the garden. Now, obviously, I can't grow carrots in a glass because The reason is because you need it dark. You remember sometimes when you get potatoes, they are green, and that means that they were exposed to the sunlight. If you have carrots exposed to the sunlight, they will also be the wrong color. You know what I mean? So you do, mind you could grow them. You could grow them in something that is clear, but you've covered it. I covered this milk carton thing with foil. And this, as you know, this is mint that I thought I would see whether I could grow it. And I bought some mint from the local, smells so good, from the local supermarket, in a little blister pack. And I just put it in water, and one bit grew roots very quickly. The other 3 took the longest time to grow roots, but I was patient. And now look at it. I will not need to buy mint again. Why? This is enough. And probably next year I will need to weed out half of that and probably give it away. But, literally what I do is I take the freshest bit of the mint at the end there, and I just drop that into my water, and it stays fresh. It's amazing. So the benefit of trying new things is important. Well, it is awesome. It gives me a reason, it gives me something to do every day. It's my exercise. All right, so Kerry's saying, I've been focusing on my mental health. I'm starting group therapy on Wednesday via conference call until we can meet in person. Boy, Kerry, that takes balls. Really. That takes courage to do that. And so I would ask you, Kerry, how can we support you in that? While Kerry is talking about that, I've got 2 new things going on here. One is, this is not a baby bok choy, but a full-grown one, or it looks like bok choy. And I've just put that in this week, just yesterday, to see how that does. And as you know, this is the bottom of an onion that I would normally throw in the garbage. And look at those roots growing beautifully. I will not plant it until I've got some green going. Right? Once I know that the roots are working and we've got new life, once that's just pretty well established. Okay, so I did not plant this one in earth until it showed that it got a lot of roots going and it was starting to, but isn't that amazing? That's just from that bottom bit of the onion that I would normally have thrown in the garbage. And I've got 2 of them already in the garden, I think. So what I'm busy doing as well is thinking about, this is a new project, right? I've never done this before. And what I'm looking at is, I want the experiment to be, how many of these do I need growing to be self-sufficient in the winter? All right. Do I need 6 or 8? Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to find out the number. I do know that I've already taken 1 lot of leaves for 1 day. So this is another day's worth. So it looks to me like I'd be able to cut this at least once a week, maybe twice. All right, so Niash is saying, don't uproot it, just keep on breaking them off the stem. It's a regrowing plant. Yes, most plants are regrowing. That's the whole point that I'm trying to make. And, I'm looking at how much money do I spend every week on buying lettuce that goes off. All right, So that's what I'm looking at. And by the way, my chives in the garden grew so well that I harvested them, and I had way too many because, I grow them anyway. But, I just handed them over to my neighbor who thought I was so generous. If you're trying to live life, Josh Barnett said this, if you're trying to live life, really live it. You should, in my opinion. Try to expand all aspects of your life. Open yourself to new ideas, new things, even if you find you don't like them in the end. But at least knowing them has taken you that much farther along into being a more experienced and well-rounded person in the world. Jeannie's saying that my butter lettuce looks better than the one purchased in the store. This was one I purchased in the store. This weird sideward growth is all mine. The base, that's the bit I bought in the store, and I ate most of it, as you can see. But I left that top bit and then dropped those roots into water, and it's loving it. So, and I'm glad that you're enjoying the updates, Jody, but it's interesting. I definitely would recommend that everybody keep mint. Right? It's also important, if you're going to have house plants, why not have house plants that work for you? Okay, cheers, Nyasha, good to see you. All right, so why not have house plants that work for you? And, I'm thinking, a lot of you really like cooking, so, learn how to grow your own herbs. Not a bad idea. Often you will end up loving new things you try, even if you don't love it. You will have given yourself a new experience. I am so excited. I was so excited. What did I do with my phone, I wonder? Okay. How many of you saw pictures of my craft room when it was up to my eyes in boxes all over? It's a fairly big room, and I had so many boxes in there. And I had, I think, 2 or 3 even in front of my bookcases. This week, I managed to clear the boxes in front of the bookcases. And I am, hang on a second. So exciting. I have 7 boxes left in the craft room with bits, right? But 7 boxes. So that is amazing. All right, so Carrie is saying, to support her, please check in on me. I've been focusing on me and what I need to do to succeed. Yay. I finally had an interview with a pizza place as a delivery driver. Awesome. So that is a big risk. All right, Angela's saying she's been thinking about getting a tower garden. Yeah, Angela, you bought a new property not so long ago, a couple of years ago. So, you got one that was very smart because you got one big enough that you could actually turn it into an income producer. Am I right? That you can have people in and provide boarding for people, which quite honestly is a very smart move. And because I'm pretty sure that if you have renters in your property, that you have an income going, even though you're out of you're in lockdown. All right, so Bernice is saying her hubby and she are making plans for wood projects around the house. Some shelving, some outside storage. Yeah, exactly. Very clever. And the headboard. Oh, that'll be fun to see. You see, but, and she's saying it's the first time for us to do this kind of project. That's what will make it so interesting. All right. And the other thing is, please keep it fun. When you start to get frustrated with one another, can you keep saying, Remember, we're doing this for fun, right? Yeah. I want to tell you that Kerry is so good about recognizing when she needs some more support. And, Kerry, I am delighted to hear that you are doing that. I really am. For those of us who have ever been through um, a mental health challenge, it is a very difficult thing to go through. And Kerry, that I totally understand. And I know what it takes to go into group therapy. And you can probably imagine that group therapy for me was not fun because I am what they call a lightning conductor. Do any of you know what that is? If you go into a group, people take one look at me and they just go, yeah, I am the person they all want to attack. And it's just actually what I found once I realized that, I found it a wonderful opportunity to teach myself how to not to react to people, right? That I literally learned to put up that boundary, all right? That that they could call me whatever they like, but it didn't have to affect me. It was just their opinion. And I want to tell you, Kerry, that when I did group, boy, did I need to learn that skill because, and the funny thing was when I left group, I met somebody sometime later that had been in the group and she said, boy, did we miss you when you left? And I said, really? Everybody hated me so much. And they said, no, you know something? You were so kind to so many people. And we really missed that when you left. All right, so Jeannie's saying, York made a special board to put in the back of his truck. So our groceries will fit in quicker and more easily. What a great idea. Yes, a sort of to hold them in. What a great idea. You see, this is the exact thing that I'm saying, Jeannie, is that we will all, if we use this time well, we actually will develop some great skills. I was thinking yesterday, what do I need for my garden? I need some stain and I need some other things. And I'm going, it is high risk for me to go to Home Depot. And I'm going, can I get it online? Can I get it delivered? And I'm going, yes, but on the other hand, can I get Dougie to pick it up for me? If I transfer the money to him and ask him, can you pick up these things for me and deliver them to me? That might work as well. So I'm getting more creative about how can I do this? It is, and the other thing is when I'm looking at things, I'm going, could it wait a year? Yeah. Yeah, I got plenty to do. It is better to look back on your life and say, I can't believe I did that, than to look back and say, I wish I had done that. So that's why I'm saying use this time well. Whatever time you have left to do this, right? Use it well. There's part of me that's hoping that I will eventually find those leads for my die cutter, my silhouette machine. But, I know they're here. But, the very last room that I'm unpacking is the studio. And what are the chances that they're not just in the studio, but they're right at the back of the studio? And they were probably the first things I brought into the house and I put away carefully at the back. And then all the boxes went into the studio. Yeah, never mind. All right, so Bernice is saying, when we get frustrated with plans, we separate and then come back when we're fine, mostly me. And then I let him do the plans and tell him that when I'm overwhelmed, and he gives me instructions one at a time. Yes. And, that is helping build your relationship, Bernice. Think about that. So you're teaching him, how you work. And that is a really important part of it. Lynn Collins said, I am an entrepreneur at heart, and I'm not afraid of starting up, starting over, or even failing for that matter, because the fact that I try new things is in itself victory. Angela, I wanted to ask you if we can support you in some way. Is it to, what would that be? A part of me hears you say, I need to laugh some more. I don't know why, but that's what I can hear you say. Um, but I just like to know how we can do that. And what is it? What is the risk of you not being able to go back to that job? Do you know? And am I correct that you actually are fairly self-sufficient because of the property that you bought? In which case, I hope you're congratulating yourself for making that call. Anthony Bourdain, great loss to us all, said, without experimentation and willingness to try new things, we shall surely become static, repetitive, and moribund. Does everybody know what moribund means? It's like, you know, almost very low in spirit. Lee Hammond said, to live an art-filled life, one must be willing to try new things and accept that things change. I have to tell you that I am getting to the stage where if I don't start painting soon, I'm going to be very sad. And yet, here's my next challenge. There is so much sunlight in here. This is amazing to me. I have actually had to put down that screen in that kitchen window. That's a bay window. I've had to put the screen down a bit because the sun at midday, now that we're into spring, is so strong. I've also had to remove certain plants from there because in the winter they were fine. They were getting lots of light and enjoying it, but that sun is so strong there that I needed to move certain plants away before they got burned. All right, so Angela's saying, I'm just staying busy with walking my doggies. No, I'm actually losing dollars by renting it. My mortgage and HOA fees are more than... Oh, okay, so this requires another plan. Okay, I think about that for a second. Jeannie's saying, how wonderful to have such sun. Yeah, I've got a big skylight here as well, all right, which is why but the whole house is just incredibly light. And, the funny thing is, it is positioned in a way that I didn't expect it to have that much light. Even the deck, I've got one side of the house is a complete 29-foot. My house is longer than that, but I've got a 29-foot covered deck. And you're going, even that doesn't block out as much light as I thought it would. And so, to me, it was the number one thing, Jeannie. When I wrote down my list of what do I want in my ideal home, light was my number one issue. And I didn't want to remodel again. I've done that in my life. Okay, so Ange, good idea. So you've put it up for sale, and it could take a while, right? Yeah, Jeannie's saying that when we bought our home, we rejected many because they were too dark. Yeah, you and I both. Well, Angela, it is what it is, right? You didn't have a choice. I want to tell you, there isn't a day that I don't give thanks for the fact that I sold mine when I did. You know what I mean? It was like, I really, there was an incredible bit of timing. I am glad that I put it, I was on the market for over 6 months. So it could be a long haul. And do you have ways of making up the difference? Or, can you make a plan B until it sells? Yeah, and Angela, that's why I'm saying that our lives as we knew it have definitely going to totally change. I am hoping that, when you do get to sell it, you will actually, realize that it was a good thing to do. Because, in a way, you're going to end up hopefully with some extra money at the end of it. It has been found that when we do something new, it gives us a sense of time slowing down in our lives. It also has been found to provide us with more purpose and personal growth. All right, very important. And just saying that realtors aren't allowed to show homes anymore, right? So for the time being, you won't be able to show your home. That's a fact. So therefore, you need to find a different way. Hi, Trina, good to see you. Jeannie's saying, has anyone received the US stimulus check? It's coming soon or is here already. Obviously, I don't qualify. So Angela's saying she's just qualified for unemployment, right? Well, at least so you're going to have something coming in. So it's going to be scary. The other thing is this, I would like to suggest, Ange, that if you think about it, a lot of other people are going to be like yourself that, need to put their house on the market and can't afford to. Or there are people, I think housing is going to become a big issue. And I think that, you've got a better chance of, putting up the rent a bit and renting out, how many people would you need to have in your home to be able to stay self-sufficient? And I'd start doing that in a hurry. I'd start, advertising that and doing it. And, you can say, well, I've only got this many bedrooms. I can remember living in London where we, an apartment that probably was only meant to house, one person. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 people living in it. So when you think about it, that's what's going to happen. And what I love about you, Ange, is that you are so creative and you are just smart marketing wise. So I would take your skills and, and a property that you've got and see what you can do. All right. Sleep on the couch downstairs and rent out all the bedrooms is if you have to. I'm not quite sure whether you've got 2 levels, but I think you do. You know what I'm saying? It's like, find a way. So Jody is saying, Jeannie, some have received it by direct deposit this week, and people that collect Social Security or disability should be seeing the direct deposit within a week or so, right? I don't know whether, we will end up as people who are retired. I don't know if we will end up with anything or not. because here is the thing, the cost of everything. Have any of you noticed that the cost of things has gone up? I warned you about that over a month ago. Have any of you been noticing that? And so, again, all right, so Janie's saying she got hers today, a direct deposit. Well done. I'm happy that you got it. And how often will you receive that? Or is it a one-time thing? Jody, I have a question to ask you. All right, Jody's saying cost of groceries has already jumped dramatically here. All right, so you understand why I warned you all, to start stocking on the basics, all right? Jody, I wanted to ask you, when you got your new hobby, which was making masks for people who needed them, did you spend a lot of time talking to yourself? Yeah. Did you spend a lot of time going, well, that doesn't work? Or, well, it is what it is. What I want you to understand is that part of what I love about doing new things is that we get to use our brains differently. All right, so Jeannie's saying she paid $4.50 for a dozen eggs from a nearby farm. They used to be $3.50. And what was their reason for putting up the price? Feed would go up for the chickens. But they're probably free range if you're buying them from a farm, right? Yeah, so expect that. Some things are going to be astronomically high. All right, and Angela's saying conversely, and this is an interesting thing, gas has gone down $1 a gallon. All right? Isn't that interesting? And you know why, Ange? All right, Benny, it's good to see you. Ange, you understand why? Nobody's driving their cars. And so they're doing whatever it takes to get you to go and fill up your car, because otherwise there is no money being spent on gas. Jody's saying, I talk to myself all day anyway, Sal. But yes, well, this didn't work, so let's try XYZ. I talk to myself as I go along. Yeah, absolutely. And Jody, you understand you're using creative, mechanical, you're using so many different things. Some of you know that I've been having some serious arthritis problems with my right hip. And I said to myself, well, what else can I do to help that hip? And so what I did, don't laugh. Well, actually, do laugh if you find it funny. But I literally built like a hurdle. My cubies that I have, my little squares. I put a series of them along the pathway between my kitchen and my bedroom, so that when I go to pee, I literally have to walk over these cubies. It's like a little Grand National. But what it's forcing me to do is to use this leg and to lift it to that degree on, a pretty regular basis. And you're going, yeah, but, wouldn't a stepper do the same thing? Yes. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to change the angle on my total gym so that I can do a good angle like this and do squats, because I think squats is what is needed as well. My back will be supported, but doing a more, at the moment, the total gym is sort of at this angle. I want to put it up to about this angle so that I can do squats, because I think more than anything, that will help my knees and my hips. Right, so Jeannie's saying, please do not fall. I fell recently on my knees and I'm still healing. I'm sorry to hear that. You know, if I don't exercise those muscles, I will have more likelihood of falling and more likelihood of doing myself damage. Do you understand, Jeannie? So I love the love in that. I appreciate that. But the truth is that I do need to exercise them and to use as much as I can. Oh, so Jody's saying that's a great example of options versus excuses. Yes, I really, yeah, I love my total gym. I've actually, I hate to admit this, I got to the stage where I've actually worn out one of the rollers on the sliding thing, and I may have to get a new total gym because my total gym is so old. It's like me. And so I may need to do that. You use it every day. Yep. So you understand what I'm talking about. You know what I love about the total gym is that it never, it's so basic in how it works that, it'll never go out of style. They'll keep updating it and making it look prettier, whatever. But, it just is very basic and it does a great job. And for that, I'm very grateful. I'm beginning to think that people will start selling things. All right. And therefore, I'm going to start looking out for a secondhand total gym, a new one. What I'm going to do with the old one, I don't know. Probably pay somebody to remove it. But anyway, the point that I am trying to make today is please understand that whatever is going on, we can cope with this because we have to. Makes sense? We have to cope with it because it is what it is, and it's probably never going to go back to how it was. For those of you who, are older, I grew up at the end of the war. They still had rationing. We had food rationing. And I can remember as a child having, you had a little ration card that you could go and buy sweets with. Yes, Jeannie's saying we are stronger than we imagine. Yeah. And kinder, right? And more considerate of others. I was just saying, I'm still trying to find out who the Easter Bunny was in our community, that in this time of austerity, with nobody sort of doing it, went around to every single one of the units here, and left Easter Bunny rabbit droppings everywhere. I mean, how much time and effort did that take? How much money did that take? But I was really impressed that somebody did that. And it's really interesting, when I went down to go and collect the mail yesterday, people have left thank you cards to the Easter Bunny. It's so, in doing that, they brought the community together all over again. And I thought that was beautiful. So, Angela, tell us how we can support you, please. I had no idea that you were going through this. And Kerry, we will do what we can to keep in touch, but also can we make sure that you keep in touch as well? Because if we don't know what's going on, how do we help you? All right. So think about that. And I would say, right. So Jeannie's saying you can do a May basket soon. Same idea, no names. Right. Um, well, it's just like I think we each do our own thing, Jeannie. All right. And I look at it that I would hate to take that away from somebody who does that sort of thing. I think there are creative ways to do that in a sense of community. All right. And as I said, I was amazed when I delivered, the spring onions to my neighbor. You would have thought I brought gold dust or something. They were so appreciative, and I just said, "Hey," and I'm looking forward to growing vegetables and having too many, and just saying, have a box at the bottom of my driveway going, free vegetables for those who want it. It's part of. I think we each will do our own. You love doing May baskets for children, yes, and obviously, see, that's something that is wonderful to do. And you're a very community-minded person. I know that, Jeannie, from the work that you did um, before. That you do love to contribute to the community. I can remember, for example, when I was in Africa, I used to hold a Christmas party for all the children of all the workers on the farms that were in the area where I lived. And, literally, these are children that, didn't get Christmas presents or anything else like that. They were really poor. And, it was just such a delightful thing to do, to give them a Christmas party and have food and crackers and presents. And, it was just, I know how much fun that can be. So I was wondering, Jeannie, and you probably have got a better idea than a lot of people, but I was wondering what effect this will have on pets. Um, and I guess that's part of what I want to think about as well is how many pets will be given up because people can't afford to feed them. What do you think? And I also know that for some of you, that you would go and starve yourself before you starve the dog. I understand that totally. So part of me goes, I may end up going to the pound sooner than I thought. But obviously, I can't do that until I've made my property dog proof. And I've been sort of looking at that to see how to do that in an easy way. Some people think they can catch something from their pet. Yes, they can. Love. Unconditional love is what you catch from a pet. How many of you agree with me? Yeah, Trina's saying my two dogs are having a great time. We're all at home and getting plenty of walks a day. Yeah. So you are allowed to go out and walk, and that's good. Um, I'm finding I make sure that I go out in the car twice a week, as you know, because I need to top up my battery. And I'm finding that drive very interesting. I've got a sort of on if I go out Wednesday or Thursday, I've got like a 20-minute drive in a half an hour drive that I do, and then on Saturdays I do a longer one. And so it is good to get out and drive. I think you're allowed to be within 2 kilometers of your home. Okay, that's good, Trina. Jeannie's saying some animals are wondering why their people are at home so much more. Yeah. Yeah, Angela's saying I was going to say I would starve before giving up my puppies. Yeah, I totally believe you, Angela. Yeah, and Judy's saying Misty loves going for a ride with us. Yes, and it's, so I think there are ways of getting, I'm not feeling stir crazy. What about you guys? Because I'm really, I'm out in the garden every day. I am, doing different things. I could do outdoor garden, indoor garden. I'm busy utilizing. You can't see it here. Maybe I can just move it. Okay, can you see that shelf? Wait, there, that shelf there. I've started putting my seedlings on there because I realize I can be growing my seedlings on that unit and clear up my dining room table. Because I've been using my dining room table as my greenhouse. And I want to clear my dining room table. It's one of my goals now. And so what I realized was I've got a really good unit there and I can use it. Have I done any painting? No, and that's what I was saying, Trina, that I did do a bit. Hang on. I didn't, I tried to remember when I did this. I did this a couple of weeks ago, but I actually tried a new technique. So it's a set of, I really love making beer mats because they're sort of, each is an individual work of art. But anyway, so that's, I hadn't used that particular paint and it's pretty high. I've still got to high gloss them, which I haven't done. But it's I've got a lot of glitter paint and I thought I need to start using them. So I wanted to try that. Now I also did them on cork, but as you can see, they ended up really dark. And then I thought, something? I am now going to do another painting on top of it and just have this as a background. Because for some reason, the colors did not do the same thing on the cork that they did on the placemats. So this one a little bit. That when I've got the gloss isn't on there yet. This is just acrylic. Let me show you the difference. Okay, so Jeannie, this is with high gloss on it. Can you see the difference? Oh, there's a bigger than my hands will stretch. Look at the gloss on that one, as opposed to the, so this is, you know what I use on there? Engine lacquer. Because I want it to be able to withstand high heat. So, as you see, isn't it beautiful? But anyway, what I want to do is to actually, yeah, it's a big difference. I want to do a white webbing type thing over the top of this. And when I do it, I will show you. So it's not that this is, the backs are just black, sorry. I think I showed you the back of one. So this is not wasted. I just want to brighten it up a bit and use that as the background. But I may leave these exactly as they are, right? Because I think they're pretty as they are. So thank you for asking, and please continue to encourage me to make the time to do that, because my garden is taking up an amazing amount of time at the moment, because now I'm starting to plant the stuff at the front, and I'm realizing that I'm really glad that I took my geraniums. I took about a dozen geraniums from my garden last year, and I put them into, oh, how could I chinos? I put them into gallon jugs and kept them, moved them in the middle of winter and kept them in the bay windows here. And they survived. And so I'm very excited. I'm going to start planting them in the garden. Yeah, I agree with you. Jeannie's saying your art is for you and then others. You know something? I just give my art away. I literally will have people visit and I go, take something you like. And they're going, but, and I go, hey, I just do it for fun. I do it because I love it. Now, I have sold some. That's true. But, I just love doing them. Hang on a second. It's funny because it gives me such pleasure. Talk about high gloss. This set I did, and then I did the matching. These are actually stone coasters, and it was just like, to me, when I finished, it's like, that looks so nice. That gives me pleasure. Jody, when she's finished making her masks, the first one she finishes is going to be a real challenge for her because, Jody is a perfectionist, so probably she'll just pick it apart that it's not good enough. And then she'll forget that the people who want that mask don't care that the stitching isn't perfect. They care that they've got a mask, So it's really important. But what I loved was the materials that she's using, because she's making it really, she's doing some beautiful materials. Well done, Jody. I'm very proud of you. So we're going to do the countdown, but what I wanted to say to you is it is up to us individually, all right, to keep ourselves challenged. Jody's just writing, I already tore it out twice. You know me. Yeah, I do. I know you very well. I can imagine. And I'm going, in the time it took you to take it apart, I am pretty certain somebody could have been protected. But you'll work that out eventually. All right, guys. So for those of you who are romantic, you've got 23. Oh, no, you haven't. You've got 10 months to go until Valentine's Day. We've got 251 shopping days until Christmas. And you have got 7 months and 18 days until your cards have to be in the mail. For those of you who are in the US or associated with the US, you've got 7 months and 13 days until Thanksgiving. And we Canadians only have 5 months and 28 days because we have ours in October. For those of you who are in the States, you've got 2 months and 29 days, roughly 3 months to go for your taxes. We Canadians only have 1.5 months. Hang on, how long until summer? That's an important one. Hold on a second. We've got 2 months left until summer. Or in the case of those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, you've got 2 months until winter. So think about that. What do you need to have ready? Very important. And I think what I'm looking at is, I used to spend a lot of money every year on my garden. And I'm realizing now that I am going to be doing container gardening more than anything for my flower garden, and most of it will be bulbs. Why? Just have to put them in once. But I'm going to spend my gardening time making food. For those of you who are interested, I moved 3 months ago. And I'm pretty proud of how far I've got, quite honestly, in unpacking. I know some people would have been totally unpacked already, but I know that I have systematically, I have one period of each day that I unpack. And I really have been doing that systematically. And, for all the downsizing I did before I moved, I'm doing it again as I unpack it. I'm just trying to not do it too quickly because it overwhelms me. I've had to put a halt to a lot of it because my place was beginning to look like a mess. So now I'm concentrating my time on getting everything tidied up before I unpack some more. Although I'm still unpacking. It's just, I'm just doing little bits, not big ones. So I've owned the house for 2 months, and I feel like I've lived here forever. Yes, isn't that true? Jeannie's giving a quote here. Bill Packard, deceased poet and editor of the New York Quarterly, said, "Everything is going to be all right, and then, even if it isn't, everything is going to be all right." I totally believe that. I believe that we will just change because we have to. Some of us will change screaming and shouting and resentful and whatever, and others will change because that is the way that it is, and they just move on. I didn't think that I would be buying bulk flour or bulk rice or anything in my lifetime, but I'm glad that I have, because I think I feel safer knowing that I've got stuff in my pantry. Beth's comment about shop from your own pantry first. All right. I'm beginning to look now at how many months of everything have I got? How many months of deodorant have I got? How many months of toothpaste have I got? I'm pretty sure most of you have got a fair supply of toilet paper by now. Right? And this is like, and what are you going to do when you can't afford toilet paper? Do you know? It's like, it's possible that it'll happen. So to me, part of what our job is together is to just go, we can do this. We just have to go with the changes. And some of us will do it willingly, and some of us won't, and that is quite normal. That's human nature. Some of us will find this an interesting challenge, and some of us will go, what do you mean I can't buy, brie cheese anymore? All right, because I want it. Well, maybe you'll learn how to make it. How many of you know how to make cheese? Any of you? you know, we got, I keep thinking about how lucky we are. All right. I mean, we've got the internet, for goodness sake. We've got, I was talking to my sister who does jigsaw puzzles, and I was sending her links. I said, there's some awesome free that you can, do all the jigsaw puzzles you want, and you can decide, how many pieces you want or not want. And, it's like, if that's what your thing is, you don't even have to buy them anymore. You can just do them, right? And it's just like, we are so fortunate. Good night to you, Trina. And so to me, this is like, be grateful for what we've got. All right. My temptation was to buy another freezer. I've got to tell you that. I'm very tempted to buy another freezer. And then I said to myself, if you buy another freezer, you are just going to store more food that you probably will not eat. Because what I've noticed is I love cooking fresh food. I'm not so good about eating the leftovers. And so I'm looking at that reality and saying, I need to do this a different way. Cheers, Jenny. Good to see you. So, I'm trying to make sure that I am a little more, what would the word be, realistic about how I eat. And what I am going to be doing is to, I drop hair everywhere. Um, what I am going to be doing, though, is to have a much better look at, growing fresh food and what do I enjoy, and be happy with it. So remember to keep, even though life has changed and will change, I think the bigger changes are coming now, quite honestly. I think everybody was sort of okay for a while. I'm noticing even in my neighborhood, people are not taking as much care as they were, which puts me at greater risk. But is it possible to escape from the risk? No. But I can take calculated risks. For example, I try and make sure that I go to pick up my mail at a time when probably not too many people are out and about. Makes sense. Yes, I can still go and walk. And, I'm in a community that's pretty safe to walk in at night. Well, as far as I know, there haven't been too many people off here. And it's like this community is pretty safe, which means I can walk late at night and be pretty safe. I can still do that. Or I can walk at a time that not too many people seem to be about. I've noticed that there seems to be a time when people go walking, and that's just round about after lunchtime, because this is to a large extent a retirement community. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to walk around about 5 o'clock when I think a lot of people are cooking. Makes sense? So I will go out, and the weather is so beautiful, and enjoy it. I recommend that you all get fresh air every day. Really. Get fresh air in your houses, get fresh air in your lungs. Do something to get some fresh air. Even if you are in an apartment or something, make sure you get plenty of fresh air. It's very important. I go out twice a day to tend to the garden, so I get a lot of fresh air. But what I do is while I'm out, I leave the doors open in my place so that lots of fresh air gets in while I'm out in the garden. Think about that. Think of ways to live healthier on less, with less, but care more, keep in touch more, do it differently. I had coffee this week. I had a coffee date with Marnie. Marnie and I were due for a lunch, and I wrote to her and I said, okay, we're due to get together, so we're going to do that, but we're going to do it electronically. And we did, and it was such fun. And by the way, I had my weekly meeting with the girls. I normally read them bedtime stories, and for some reason this week I decided to play a game with them, and boy, it was such fun. I didn't know that they were going to enjoy it that much, but they did. They got so excited, and I'm thinking probably wasn't the best thing to do when they're just about to go to sleep, but they did enjoy it. You see, to me, it's really important for them to know that even though I can't come and see them, that I love them. And what makes me smile is, why didn't I do this months ago, years ago? I don't know, but I didn't, but I do now. And, there's part of me that is blessed for that. It makes me feel good to be able to do that and to be able to have that connection with them, because who knows if I'll ever see them again. I could get sick tomorrow and not make it. So that to me is really, really important. That is not being negative, that is being realistic. And I really work hard at staying in reality. There is risk attached to living. There will always be risk attached to what we do. I just think we've got a bigger target on our backs at the moment than we had a year ago. But it may not be as big a target as we will have. Maybe there'll be a bigger target coming down the road. I say that let's enjoy every day. Let's learn something new. Let's take a risk, but a calculated one. Stay as safe as you can, but keep moving forward. Don't stagnate. If you stay in your head too much, do what Kerry did. Get help. There are ways of getting it without going in. And can you understand what I say about be ready to watch an awful lot of replays of your favorite shows because actors cannot get together and record shows anymore. So we're probably going to have a year at least before we get to see, after these, the ones they got in the can already, after those are done, it's probably going to take quite a while before we see new anything. Be prepared for that. Be prepared for them to be less movies released. Why? They can't do them. Unless they get very clever about making movies with social distancing. And I'm certain there'll be some creativity like that. And the reason I think it's going to be possible is look at the choirs that have got together digitally, each individually recording their part, but when they put them all together, it's a choir. I think we're going to see a lot of animation. I saw a really interesting interview with Zuckerberg and his wife, and they were talking about that they need to stand back and continue to work at home. People like Facebook, people in the digital world need to stay working from home longer, so that the people who have to get back to work, the mom and pop store, those sort of people have to be back at work before the digital people. And I thought that was so true, that those of us who can continue to work from home and be at home need to stay there so that the people who need to be in the front line can do that. I thought that was an interesting reality check from him. And I think we will see a complete change in a lot of things. And expect it. Don't be surprised. Be prepared and just move with what's happening. And keep talking about it. That's what we're going to do. All right, so we'll be back on Facebook at 6:30 for half an hour just to do a test and see how it goes. If you want to be up on camera, please make sure you bring earphones, because otherwise we get the feedback. And please be prepared to interact, all right? Because that's what we're doing it for. So for those of you who don't want to be on camera, you can still be on voice. That's also great. So we'll see you on Facebook at 6:30, and then we will move over and do our regular broadcast for the smile time after we've got the bugs sorted out on the first bit. This is DearMamaSal saying, expect to change, be prepared to change, be prepared to risk different things because we're going to have to. I love you dearly. I will keep giving you the best advice I know how. And love you. This is DearMamaSal saying bye-bye for now. We'll see you soon, like in a few hours.